Hey, how's everyone doing? This is Melvin here from the Melvin Live Show, Melvin.tv. And today I want to talk to you about this whole idea of creating an online course for the first time. Now, in case you're watching this for the first time, this is Melvin here. And what we talk about here essentially are a few things. Number one is we talked about how you can go from trading time for money to being able to enjoy what we call the LIFT freedom. And the LIFT freedom essentially it's location, intellectual, financial, and time freedom. And in my process of being a consultant, I've also met with many other trainers, consultants, speakers, and coaches. And one of the biggest complaint that they have is that, or one of the biggest wish that they have is that they could, if only they could clone themselves, because many a times they are caught in a situation whereby they either have to be at one place or the other, and that result in them not being able to be at two places at the same time, and so that has resulted in some lost opportunity as well as the need to kind of trade time for money. And of course many of them eventually decided that perhaps looking at online learning could be one of the best way to do so, because the key idea behind that is you create a piece of asset and you can sell it over and over again without you being involved in the process itself. Now, of course, we know that that kind of a learning mode probably would have worked like 2 or 3 or maybe 5 years ago. But up until probably in the last couple of years, it kind of stopped working. And of course, with COVID-19, things have kind of been fast tracked. People are now a little bit more comfortable, or may I say, they do not have a choice. And so they need to conform to online learning itself. Now, that doesn't give us an excuse as creators to really think about how we are able to make this whole process a lot more effective for our learners. So I know of many people who want to take this whole opportunity, like, looking at, um, uh, looking for another source of avenue, or to be able to do a what they call I am not here income, right? And I think many of them struggle with that, and some of them manage to find the possibility to create online courses. But I think many of them have had this similar experience. They had so much knowledge, they have so much content, they have so much examples, and so what they think that the logical thing to do for them is essentially to pack everything into an online program. And so this online program turns out to be this behemoth of 78, 90 videos, each more than 5 minutes. And what the requires people to do is that it requires people to sit down and watch them over a long period of time. And the main struggle I think that most of these people face is a few parts, right? So the first part is, how do I cram all I know into an online course? That's their first struggle. Now, the second struggle is now that I've got this online course up, how exactly do I sell it? And so they struggle with the part about having to sell their online course. And for those of who are fortunate enough to sell their online courses, the question is, how do we get people to complete the course? Because I'm sure you have signed up for some online courses itself, and the question I have for you is that what drove you to complete the course? And if you didn't complete the course, what was the reason why you did not complete the course? Okay, so they go from how am I supposed to get it down into an online course to how am I supposed to sell this thing to now how do I get my students to complete my course? And so today what I want to talk to you about is this nine things that you must know before you even create the course. So over the course of the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about, how do I get, how do I sell my online course, and also how to get people to complete my online course. And I'm going to demonstrate to you how I do it so that you have a solid example to make a reference to. So today we want to get into this part of the nine things that you must know before you create an online course. So, number one thing that you must know is you must know how do your learners learn. And this may sound simple and this may sound logical, but believe you me, there are many, many trainers, even very seasoned trainers, who still think of it as a trainer-centric mode of instruction rather than a learner-centric instruction. And so, when you think about that in itself, the first thing you want to know is how do my learners learn? And so this requires you to do a fair bit of research, like looking into, what kind of behavior, what's a day in the life of the people that you are teaching? When do they have time to sit down and consume the content that you have prepared for them? When is the best time for them to do that? In what format should your content be? So all this information should be available to you, and you have to look at this information before you even decide on step two. So number two things that you must know before you create an online course is this: you must know that there is competition. Now, I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive here because why would I want to know whether whatever I'm creating has got competition? And some might even say that, well, if it has competition, it means that I might not be able to break into the competition. Now, competition it's good because competition tells you that whatever that you are creating, already there is demand for that. And that is great news, right? It's great news that whatever you have thought of, someone it's already selling a solution, whether it's similar to yours or otherwise. So having competition is great because it tells you that the idea that you have it's validated. Now why is that important? Because a lot of time course creator, at least first time course creator, what they do is they think that this is something that my learners need, but the truth turns out to be, but that's not what my learners want. So you got to be able to differentiate between this is what my learners need and this is what my learners want. And that in itself, it's going to save you a lot of heartache because I know that when I launched my first online course, no one bought, right? And so that was a painful lesson and that was an expensive lesson. And I never wish it upon any one of you to have to go through that, right? So in the process itself, we have a training, an intensive training to teach our students how to actually pre-sell your course even before you create it. All right. So knowing competition, it's a clear sense of validation for you, and that's something that you must know. Number three things that you must know before you create your online course is this: are you going to position your course as a premium content or as a mass market content? Now, right off the gate, if you think that you have, after you've done your competitive analysis, you have looked at what the competition is offering, and perhaps you may even identify some areas that the competition is weak in based on the reviews and the comments that was given by other users. So once you have that piece of information, the next thing for you to consider and to think about is, where are you going to position yourself? Now, you see, because when you start positioning yourself as a mass market course, then of course you are also looking at mass market price. Now, nothing wrong with that, because I do know of many mass market course creators who have done reasonably well and some who have done exceptionally well for themselves, right? And that's the whole idea, right? That 1%, 1 million old digital business. So when you decide whether you want to go with the mass market, that you want to hit a lot of people and you want to position it as such, or you want to go with the premium market and just serve a smaller niche. However, there are pros and cons, right? So let's talk through that. Now, if you're going to serve the mass market course itself, of course, the beauty of that is that you have huge number of students who will sign up for your course. Why? Because it's reasonably priced, and assuming the content that you providing, it's good. It's compared to the competition. It is more comprehensive and better design. Then obviously, what's going to happen? It's you are going to get lots of enrollment. But here's the thing: with more people coming on board itself, there is also another key aspect of it that you must pay attention to. And that key aspect is support. So if you're going to take in like 100 students, you have to make sure that you have the capacity and the bandwidth to be able to deal with the questions and the answers and the technicalities. When people have experienced any kind of technical problems, they're going to come to you. And so that is something that you will have to think about. Of course, the smart entrepreneur in all of us will think of, perhaps I could outsource this to a customer experience person who is able to take care of that. Well and good, but that's something you need to know. Now, the other group of us may think that, hey, I do not want to go with the mass market. Instead, what I want to do is I want to pitch at the group of people who are essentially the super niche group of people. And again, that's well and good. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing superior or inferior to the other choice itself. It is what it is. So if you're going with the niche group of people, then there are a few things that you would have to consider. The thing that you primarily have to consider is that if you are going to take in people and you're going to have a smaller group of people, you definitely want to charge a premium pricing. And charging a premium pricing would mean that the entire experience of people enrolling into your course, it's going to have to think about the whole process of it, and at any point in time, they need to feel that they have made the right choice, right? So thinking about the whole customer experience, it's really, really crucial, right? Now, the fourth thing that you must know before you start creating an online course or you create an online course is the following. Now you know where you're going to pitch it. The next thing you need to know is how you're going to price it, right? Because when it comes down to pricing, sometimes it's a little tricky. You know, it may seem like a $99 seem to make sense. It may seem like a $2.99 seem to make sense. It may seem like a $7.95 seem to make sense. You know, at the end of the day, you would have to figure out the business aspect of it, the accounting aspect of it, right? And so one way that we teach in our program is how do you actually factor in all your costs to make sure that you have yourself covered, right? It doesn't mean that you will make a lot of money or doesn't mean that you will not make money, but the point is that in this whole process itself, you have to be able to cover certain costs. And if you are able to do it in such a way that even allows you to cover some of your fixed costs, that would be ideal, right? And so pricing, it's key. Number five, things that you must know before you create an online course is, are you going to go with a marketplace or are you going to sell it on your own website? Now there is that's a perennial question, and I don't think it's a dichotomy here because it's not as if like it's binary, like you either have to pick this or this. Now, of course, the way to think about this is that if you go to a marketplace like Udemy, for example, of course, you have the benefit of having free traffic, people who are already looking for that kind of content. They could possibly discover you. And when they discover you, they could enroll, and that's how you may grow. Now, of course, the other aspect of it is that, when you go with a marketplace, if you notice and if you have done your search on Udemy, you will notice that every time you key in a particular keyword, your cost will show up, but so will your competitors' causes. And so at the point in time, you're really standing side by side. So a few things got to win in order for you to be able to catch their attention, because here we're talking about snap decisions, right? And so that's something that you would need to figure out, because how is it that when people at a glance, they are going to pick you versus the competition? So that's something that you need to definitely take into consideration. Now, of course, when you go with the other extreme, with which is looking at self-hosting, putting it on your own website itself, you ain't gonna get any traffic at all unless you already have an audience to begin with. Now, for the rest of us, we don't really have an audience when we're starting out, and so marketing could be a problem itself. Now, what are some ways that you can rectify that? Of course, you could look at driving Facebook ads and Google ads to the page and get people to opt in or to get people to sign up, for instance. And then, of course, you can program your site in such a way that it gives people a teaser, right? The first three lessons are free, and subsequent lessons you would have to pay, right? And so that's another way to do it. Now, the good part about this is that if people were to land on your site, assuming that they find your site through a series of keywords, not through ads, they find your site and they land on your site, what's that's going to mean is that they are going to view your course in a different way, because many of us would arguably think that if Google thinks you are good enough to be placed at the top three, you're probably good. And so that kind of creates that level of confidence in your course. And of course, the other upside with hosting it yourself is that you take all the profits, right? Other than the fact that you have to pay for credit card transaction fees, the rest of it really it's yours to take itself, right? So marketplace or self-hosted, that's something you need to decide. Number six, before you create your online course, you really have to think about what is the format your course is going to be. Now, I know some of you are thinking, like, wait a minute, isn't all the online courses a video course? Now, up until recently, that is probably the case. And up until recently, people were starting to realize that that isn't quite the best way to learn. And so, I mean, to sit through an entire series of trainings that are video, and assuming if you are not exactly the entertaining type, sitting through 78 of those videos, it's going to be a torture. And so, what are some of the ways that you could format your learning so that it's able to help your learners learn that better? Now, of course, if they learn better and they can see progress, they are going to continue with it. Now, the main reason why people stop, it's because they are confused, they are overwhelmed, or they do not see how they can make progress with that. They struggle with that. And so that it's primarily the main thing where people store when they go online and they start learning. And so once you know step one, right? The first thing you must know, which is what are your how do your learners learn? Once you know that, now you know what and how you are able to actually help them learn more effectively. And as a result of that, you are able to design your course more from a learner perspective rather than a trainer perspective. So, using a variety of format, sometimes it's a quiz, sometimes it's a visual, sometimes it's a thing for them to reflect, sometimes it's probably a task for them to do, and sometimes it could be you presenting the material. So it has to be a variety, right? But then the question is, how do you know what to use and when to use it in such a way that would help people learn much better? That's something you will have to figure out, and we can help you do that. Number seven thing that you will have to know before you create your online course is the following. You need to know whether are you going to provide, what kind of support are you going to be providing. So when I say support, I do not mean technical support. I mean support for your learners. So are you going to create some kind of a community, or is there going to be a weekly Q&A thing that's going on that's going to be able to help your learners make progress in the way forward? Is there going to be a possibility for people to be able to go one on one with you? Are there coaches that you could work with that could provide some additional advice for these people? All sorts of things. So you need to know what kind of support that you are going to provide. Now, if you have never done this before, obviously you are going to not be very clear about what kind of support people would need. Now, one tip I can give you is the following. Of course, if you have never had any students before, then you probably wouldn't know. But what you can do is really to speak to students of your competitors, and that is if you can trace them down. The other thing is to really engage with people and ask them what are some of the key support that they wish that they had, and what are some of the things that will help them actually make progress in terms of the things that they are learning. And once you have those answers yourself, It then gives you a better idea of how you could design your support. Number eight thing to know before you create your online course is how are you going to be marketing it? Now, let's face it, whether you're going to put it on the marketplace or you're going to put it on your own website itself, you have to do some form of marketing. It's the idea of build it and people will come. It's just not going to happen, at least not in today's context itself, right? And so, how are you going to start promoting? And here's where you really, really need to start thinking creatively. For instance, I know of some people who work with affiliates. So, for example, I am an affiliate of a particular software, and I recommend that software to them because to my learners because that is something that I use. And what I do with that is that I use that as a platform to introduce to them, to my learners, what they could do. And so that became an added value that other affiliates partners are not doing that. And at the same time, I would also give them a preview of some of the modules of my courses. So there is a variety of things that you can actually do to market this. And this is where I really urge you to be innovative and creative in the way you think about marketing. The last thing, number nine thing that you will need to think about, you need to know before you create your online course is this: why are you doing it? Now, I know we talked about this earlier on, but if I can tell you, if you're going to be doing this because of just the money alone, then I think you might want to rethink why you want to do this. Because I know of several trainers who have converted their online courses just because they think that they are going to be able to make that additional couple of $1,000. And for sure they did. But the thing is that as a learner, as the person who has signed up for the course itself, you will know instinctively, you will know that the trainer hasn't quite done it with all his or her heart. So you somehow would know, right? And so if you're going to be teaching someone something, please be responsible here, and please knowing that full well that you're going to be doing this for the long haul, right? If you're just going to go with the hit and run, then probably what you may want to do is just create micro courses and put it up on Udemy, and that will do you pretty good, right? um, but if you really are serious about looking at this online learning as a way to generate additional or the revenue for you, then definitely you want to ask yourself why you're doing this. And this is one answer that no one can answer it for you except you yourself. And before we go, I'd like to share with you a bonus. The last thing that you must know before you create this online course is the following: what happens after people take your online course? Now, I cannot emphasize how important that is, because the course that you are providing, it's not an end in itself. That course that you are providing, it's actually a means to an end for your learners. So, for example, I teach people how to create profitable online courses, but the end goal it's not so much to have them have a profitable online course. I mean, yes, that is the goal, but in effect, what they are looking for, it's more than that. What they're looking for is they're looking for that live freedom. They want that location, intellectual, financial, and time freedom. They want to know that they do not have to worry about money, and they can help the people very people that they want to help, and they want to be able to work with people who wants to work with them. right? And so think about what's going to happen after that. Because believe you me, when you have a great program going and your program actually transform the very people you teach, they're going to be sticking around with you for a long time. And this is the best time for you to create a community and to be able to support them in the way forward. All right. And so, with that itself, those are the nine things that you must know, nine plus one thing that you must know. And I hope that this video has been useful. So, if you're thinking about creating an online course, but you have not started on this, make sure you go deep into these nine things, because once you have greater clarity of what these nine things are and you know the answers for these nine things, it is going to help you tremendously. All right. And with that, if you found this video to be useful, give me a thumbs up. And if you want more content like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And to let you know, tomorrow we're going to cover the approach that you can take when you are creating your first online course. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Bye.